Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Doug Fletcher. This is my friend Aaron Cerrone, the initial inductee into the What's the Hazard Hall of Fame, by the way. And surprise.
This is new.
Right. We've just established the Hall of Fame. You're the first inductee,
Awesome.
So congratulations. Awesome. Hey, it is Friday, January 5th, I believe. Is it 5th or the 6th?
It's the 5th.
The 5th. I hope you had a happy New Year. I hope 2024 is off to a good start. We're excited to bring you another year of interesting conversation. hoping to bring you another year of interesting conversation, insights into workplace safety and health, leadership, all of those things.
I think that's fair for us.
Yeah,
People walk away and go, that was interesting. I don't know about enlightening, but
maybe.
that was interesting.
It's always different. It's always interesting. And it's good to have Aaron here, the first start the year off. I thought it would be good to have him here because typically in early January, we are doing some goal setting. We're kind of reflecting on the year. We're considering things for the future. And he and I have been actually doing that this morning. We had breakfast this morning and talked, caught up a little bit. First of all, Happy New Year, man.
Thanks, man. First inductee, I think I was your first guest ever, too.
You might have been
back
the first
in the old building.
Guest. Yes, back at Parkville Media, back in the old days when Pat actually worked. You would occasionally see Jill. Now they're big shots. I never even see him anymore unless it's my invoice is due or something.
They don't walk amongst the commoners
anymore. They do not. Yeah, but those were the good old days. Well, and this has been great too. I'm not suggesting.
That's awesome.
Hurrdat has been great to us. Dylan is a great producer.
I just saw Hurrdat open up another sports bar.
I believe that's true. Is that true, Dylan? You guys have another bar?
They bought the Good Life, right? They bought one of the Good Lives. Nice.
Very good. Well, hopefully we can do an episode from there at some point. That'd be kind of fun. Do a live episode.
Yeah.
Bring everybody from the gym. In addition to being the inaugural entrant into the Hall of Fame, Aaron is the proprietor of Mid-America Martial Arts. He is our leadership expert. He does a lot of things for us. He's a sponsor of the podcast. So
we use the term expert loosely.
Yeah, of course we do. But I wouldn't have any guests if they actually had to meet a criteria of expert somehow. So
I always wondered that. When someone puts that, especially like when you go on LinkedIn and they'll say innovation expert or motivating expert,
my God.
Like the word expert, like what is the criteria to be an expert? Being in academia, as well as I do, people like to throw that word expert around, or specialist and expert, or
subject matter expert,
business expert. I'm like, what did you do to become there's no certification to be an expert.
No
There's
doubt.
What's the timetable? Is there like X number of years?
That's a great question.
I never understood that. I don't like using the word expert associated with myself because I'm just like, what does that even? I don't even understand what it means sometimes.
Yeah, and I think people use that, in description of themselves oftentimes to promote themselves, to generate business, to
Like I have numerous black belts and numerous martial arts, and the term martial arts expert is out there, but I don't even like using it because I'm like I don't even understand what.
Right.
It almost feels like when I hear the word expert, I almost feel like you're flawless. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And nobody is. Like I'm an expert. I'm flawless.
Let's say authority. You are an authority in those subject matter, maybe.
I would think that's a better term.
And that's just
for
through
most people
years
to
of
use.
study, years of experience, whatever that combination is. OSHA uses a lot of terms. They use terms like qualified person, and they use a term competent person. And those terms have their own definitions, certainly. And, so you have to have a qualified person to evaluate a fall protection system, for example. And then you have to have a competent person to do the daily inspections or the periodic inspections, things like that. So
that sounds terrible. The first thing that popped in my head, I'm a competent. It almost sounds like a handicap or something. Like, I'm a competent person.
Exactly. Formulate complete sentences and do all those impressive things that we do. Anyway, so I got a new hat. I hope you like the new hat. Thanks to Green Plains. Appreciate it.
I do like it.
It's pretty nice, Nice. My buddy Chris Bryant. I just hooked up with Chris Bryant a couple days ago. For those of you that don't know this, Chris Bryant, who is part of this Fletcher Safety Cooperative group, doing a lot of training on behalf of the cooperative. He and his wife are opening up a diner.
You had talked about they were looking
in Shenandoah, Iowa. They purchased the cornbread shed. They're working on it right now. It's scheduled to open probably mid-January over in Shenandoah, Iowa, downtown. I was just over there a few days ago to meet with them and talk some business, and so it is under renovation right now. But everybody within driving distance of Shenandoah,
should check it
Iowa, needs to go downtown, look for the Cornbread Shed, and let's support Chris Bryant in
now,
that venture.
Chris is a big prepper. A lot of people know that. He's a big
prepper. Yes.
So it seems out of character for him to want to go further into civilization with a restaurant.
Perhaps.
Than,
right? It does. I think this was a way to just invest some money. I don't think he has great trust in Wall Street type of investments necessarily.
He's a people person too.
Very much a people person.
What better way to be around people than a restaurant?
He's from Louisiana, so he's bringing some of those recipes right up. And and we talked the other day. A lot of cornbread. We're gonna have different styles of cornbread. I love cornbread personally, and so we're excited for him. So yeah, keep that in mind. Maybe mid to end of January, head over to Shenandoah, check in, see what Chris is up to.
There used to be a barbecue place in town called McKenna's. Blues, Booze, and Barbecue.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Pacific, right around the corner, 72nd Pacific there, right beside the First Data
There
building.
was one up on Ames, too.
They had the best jalapeno cornbread. It was so good.
I remember that. Coming out of the pan, or was it like the individual?
You could get both. You could get, but and they always had some kind of rockabilly band playing at the same time. But
I remember McKenna's.
Jalapeno cornbread. It was so good.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So anyway, now that we've caught up and we've given a plug to Chris, what I would really like to do is over the holiday, we were out in California. I think I mentioned this last week, but my wife and I, my son Nick was with us, and then we spent some time with my brother-in-law Aaron, Tanya's brother, and his family. And we did some goal setting. We talked a little bit about goals for the year. We talked about health habits that we wanted to adopt for the year, some other things like that, just to get our minds going, what do we want to accomplish in 2024? And that's something that I thought you could be really helpful with, specifically along the lines of like wellness, health and wellness, I mean, these are all really interrelated within the safety world. And I think companies, employers, employees alike should be thinking about maybe, how to add that to their program.
We had this conversation in the Encore Safety Network. We were doing our monthly check-in, and I had asked what they thought about wellness programs. In my opinion, a lot of companies have wellness programs, but it falls under the HR umbrella. And it's usually, hey, go to this gym, you get a discount. And that's about the extent of it. That's the wellness program. Once in a while, they'll bring somebody in. They'll bring a masseuse in for the day, or they'll, bring some kind of therapist in to do a stretching routine or whatever it is. Some companies bring trainers on site and have classes on site. But, within the safety realm, I got to thinking, I'm like, why is it that the safety program and the wellness program are two separate programs? Why aren't they the same? Mm-hmm. Right? And we started having this conversation. And if you really think about it, what is wellness, right? Wellness is mental health. It's metabolic health. It's work-life balance. Like, it's all these things we talk about being a healthy person, that concept of deep health, right? I'm holistically a healthy person. Well, we know that all the studies show that companies have wellness programs, productivity tends to go up, right? We know that people that are healthier, they think more clear, they have more energy, they're out of work less for sickness, right? So it's a money saver, right? There's less
more physically resilient, right?
So it's like, and in my mind, I'm going, well, duh, that's the safety program, right? What's the safety program designed to do to help keep people safe, prevent injuries on the job, prevent catastrophic
productivity,
accidents.
Right? I mean, it's ultimately geared toward productivity
at the end of the day. Well, that's what wellness is, right? And I'm like, why isn't this part of the safety program? Why aren't they working together rather than being siloed out? Because if we know someone who's physically healthier, someone who's physically fit, a stronger frame, a stronger structure, is more resilient to injury. They're less apt to slip and fall, less apt to trip over something. They can withstand a fall. If something hits them, they're able to withstand the injury. They're more resilient to adverse work conditions like hot and cold. It's just a more robust workforce, and not robust like a Neanderthal way. Although there's a lot of truth to that.
I like it.
But just in general, people that are healthier, they're less stressed. There's less anxiety. There's less depression. They're a more capable employee. at the end of the day, and they're a safer employee
Ultimately,
at the end of the day.
I would totally agree.
And so the two, in my mind, the wellness program should fall under the safety program. Personally,
it makes sense,
right? The safety, whoever the expert, I was going to use the word expert, right? Who's ever in charge of the safety program, in my mind, should be in charge of the wellness program, or the wellness program should be under that umbrella, because a good wellness program. A good integrated wellness program, an active wellness program, a company that's investing in the wellness program, you are building up the safety of the company as well.
Yeah, I like
by
that.
default. Like it goes hand in hand, but too often we silo it out. What's the wellness program? Is some HR person who this is your extra duty, run the wellness program. Now there are companies who invest a lot of money in wellness programs.
Yes,
but I don't think they connect it with the safety program at all. And
that's interesting. So this is really interesting to me because I do think I have been a part of companies in the past that have had wellness programs, and I'm using air quotes to, because it's much like what you described. If you go to the gym, you get 20 points, and then you speak nice to somebody in a soft voice, you get 20 points, and at the end of the month, you get a coffee mug or something if you've tabulated all these points. And we used to have to fill out these sheets, but we really never talked about wellness. There was no instruction, there was no explanation, there was no information per se. And I'm envisioning a company that has, for example, I have a client, they are putting a really nice fitness area into their workplace, but
is it going to get used?
Yeah, don't you need to bring someone in maybe to talk about nutrition, talk about exercise, the 20-year-old guy is going to come in and just bench as much as he can. The 60-year-old guy doesn't need to be doing. So I think we need to go a little bit further, don't we?
Well, there's also right. It's just like anything else, how much money or how much time and energy and money does a company want to invest in X, Y, or Z program? At the end of the day, it's not a revenue generating source.
No, not a profit center, right?
It's not a profit center, so it tends to get pushed to the side when money gets tight, or we're going to spend money. Clearly, bigger companies that have more expendable cash can do more things with it, but a lot of times it's just an afterthought, so they can tell the insurance company they have a wellness program and the premiums come down, and and things go out right. And then we're just checking that box, which is what we've been trying to get away from in the safety programs. It's not just, hey, let's just make sure the posters are up. Let's make sure we're alive and well and we're working safely and not just having this add-on safety program. And we need to look at wellness in the same way. And it is keeping people more safe and more resilient and more productive and better work-life balance and more resilient to illness, but especially injury on the job. It's just, it is what it is. One of the reasons athletes, especially football players, lift so much, it's not necessarily to be bigger, faster, stronger, which it is, but it's also to be more resistant to injury at the same time. And that's very true on the job site, especially in the more physical job sites, 100%. But I get it. Now, part of the problem is that companies will put that fitness center in, but then it's like, hey, this is here for you to use. But don't take too much time. Don't take too long of a lunch break, and make sure it's on your own time. And don't do it on company time, or make sure you clock out if you're going to go use the gym. It's like, well, Jesus, you pretty much shame me for using that.
Right, you're not
thing.
truly investing in them that way.
No, you're not really. It's there to use, but not. It's like there's a company in town who I won't name names. It's a large IT company, but
over on what street?
who they have a hybrid work schedule.
Yes.
It's not really hybrid. You're allowed to work from home on Fridays, right?
Okay.
So Fridays you can work from home. And then they instilled this policy, work from home Fridays. Well, the first couple of Fridays, the place was freaking crickets. And the reason I know this is I have good close friends that work there. And then the managers start calling up, hey, just because you have the option to work home from Friday doesn't mean you should always work home from Friday. And they're like, well,
what's the point?
Why are you giving us the option if you're going to shame me for using it, right? So it's that mindset that a lot of companies do. It's like, we want to throw this Benny out there, but we kind of really don't want people to use it. But don't let it take away from your work. It's like, well, I'll just go to a regular gym. Like, why would I?
Yeah.
If I'm supposed to do it on my own time and not interfere with work, you're not going to give me time to use it. Why would I'll just use my
Go
local
somewhere
gym?
else.
Like, and
Absolutely.
that's why a lot of times you'll see these gyms just crickets. There's dust on everything, or they'll half-ass do it. Like, it'll be a room about this size, which, by the way, we're not in a very big room, and they'll put like a treadmill, a bike, and
It's like those hotel
3
workouts.
dumbbells. Yeah, and it's like, what are we supposed to do with this? Like, 3 people can fit in here, and there's not enough to do anything.
Right.
So it's kind of like this. It's window dressing in a lot of cases, and that's unfortunate.
I would agree.
But I think the wellness program is bigger than a weight room. It's, are you bringing in counselors? Are you bringing in mental health people? Are you bringing in
People with some nutritional
nutritionists? Are you bringing are you looking at this 360-degree holistic view of the wellness and the health of your employees, right? And then understanding that translates to safety, like directly. There's really no arguing that.
No, exactly. That's really interesting. I loved what you said about the resiliency piece, because everybody right now is looking back at their injuries from the previous year. They're required to post their injuries by OSHA. I think that starts February 1st. You have to post your summary of all your injuries and illnesses so that your employees have an opportunity to see that summary. And many of the companies that we work with are going to be required to submit this electronically to OSHA for their tracking application. And so you're looking back at this, and you're probably seeing a lot of strains, sprains, slips and falls type things. And what you said really resonated, because if you are a more fit person, those strains don't happen as often. And if you do slip, you recover from that, or, balance is a big part of this.
100%.
And then even falling. I mean, if you are someone who actually falls, the likelihood of a severe outcome is much less if you are physically stronger.
Right, or you go to pick something up, or your legs, the person with the stronger legs is going to be less apt to
some hip flexibility
crumble under the weight of something. And it's just, it's fact. There's really no way to run. There's no arguing it, right? It's just like sports: bigger, faster, stronger equates to better performance. Well, it's the same way on the job site. If people are more physically fit, they're less apt to have all these things happen. Accidents still happen, right? There's no way. There's no getting around that. Slipping is slipping, but at the same time, I'm less apt to slip and fall and break a hip. Right. And in fact, I just got a DEXA scan a few months ago this summer, which is DEXA scan is essentially a fancy X-ray of your whole body, and it breaks down everything. And after I got done, the lady that was looking at it, she goes, "My God, your bone structure is ridiculous. Like, your bone density is ridiculous." And I joked, I go, "So I'm not going to fall and break a hip? That's what what happens to old people."
Yeah.
She goes, "No, you could probably fall from a building and be all right."
You get thrown and roll around every day.
But the point is, the only reason I have bone density that I do is from the heavy lifting that I've done, right? And there's a direct correlation to that. So that's like just falls, not just preventing the fall, but how your body can absorb the impact of falling or something hitting you is huge, right? Because if I'm more fit, I can absorb that impact more. I can absorb that fall better than somebody who is unfit. That's going to be an injury. I'm going to get up and dust myself off and go, "Idiot, watch where you're walking." Or I might have a little bruise, but I'm coming back to work the next day. Whereas somebody who is wholly unhealthy and unfit, they're down and staying down.
Absolutely.
And now we have an issue.
They're on restriction, or they're
Now
away
we got
from
work comp
work.
claims. We got now we got OSHA coming in, maybe going, "Why are these people falling all over the place?" And we always want to blame it on the work environment, which they're very likely could be a problem with the work environment. But at the same time, it's like, no, I just have a workforce that is naturally going to be apt to getting hurt and injured.
That's really interesting. I've never really gone down this path before conversationally, but I think you're right.
And I'm not trying to blame it on people. Don't get me wrong. It is what it is, right? We can look at certain populations of people, and we know they're likely to be sick. They're likely to get hurt. They're likely. It just is what it is.
But we in the safety world, we talk a lot about this capacity to control bad outcomes, and we use a lot of strategies within our equipment and machinery and procedures to try to limit these bad outcomes through these different, adding different controls and capacities. This is a capacity that we have direct access to that we just ignore. And, and that resilience piece, I think, is a huge piece when it comes to these recordable injuries. And
Sure. Well, what's funny is resilience the last 5 to 10 years, resilience was a big buzzword in corporate. But for all the reasons you wouldn't think, right? Because it was resilience in how do people adapt to change, their ability to change in the ever-changing work environment. I'm going, me being you worked for the government, me being in the military, you walk in and go, okay, this is what we're doing today. Like, whatever.
It changes every day.
It changes every day. Okay, we're doing this today. And it's no big deal. You just kind of roll with it. Well, that's hard for a lot of people. So
Definitely.
You were starting to see like this big awareness and push for resilience and having resilience training and having resilience experts on staff to help people. Change management, right? Change management experts became a thing. People can deal with change and adapt to change, and having the resilience to work in an environment that's changing. I'm like, well, okay, yeah, that's a form of resilience, but then let's look at the physical resilience, right? And the resilience to stay healthy, right? And the ability to withstand illness. Like we're in cold and flu season right now.
Absolutely.
Right? How much of the workforce are in and out because they're cold and flu? How many people are never getting sick? Like there's a correlation.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? To who's always getting sick and who's not always getting sick.
I think the COVID kind of highlighted this, but we view work in two separate categories, and there is this office work, the people that work in cubicles in offices, and then there are the people that are in factories or on construction sites
collar.
that are actually working what I would consider work, or at least what I was, what work was explained to me when I was growing up, right? That's work, and then you're sitting at a desk or something. And so when we talk about change, resilience, and we talk about this kind of stuff, I think oftentimes we're talking about, work at home. We're talking about this group of people that work in an office.
Right. 100%.
And, the people that work in the factory, they go through change as well. There are changes, but they are also under really extreme physical demand,
Stress,
and we kind of ignore that almost, I mean, we have this wellness program for these piles of goo that work at a desk every day, or whatever, and I mean,
sitting is considered the new smoking.
It's horrible. I mean,
we tend to forget about, we don't think about wellness programs for the construction workers because they're doing something physical all day long. But they're also the most apt to be physically injured.
Absolutely.
In a lot of cases.
I think so.
Like, what are we doing when it comes to wellness, physical wellness, are we doing for the people out in the field and on the construction site?
Well, you mentioned something at breakfast, which we had a very nutritious, wholesome, healthful breakfast. But the stretch and flex concept, this warm-up that we do in the morning, and you see that occasionally in construction sites. You will see it occasionally in manufacturing environments. I don't know if they do that kind of stuff at in an administrative office, but the stretch and flex, we got a friend of the show, Kristen Hodge. Hinco is her company, Hinco, and she was an athletic trainer, and now she helps people design stretching programs specifically to the needs of the environment, the risk factors that you're going to be exposed to. What do you think about that kind of stuff?
A lot of the stretch and flex obviously was a result of the Japanese culture. The Deming lane of thought, where everything's very structured, everything's efficiency, and they realized. Remember the movie Gung Ho?
Yeah, I remember Gung Ho. Michael Keaton.
Yeah, and they would, when the Japanese company bought the plant, and then they started making them all wake up early and line up and do exercises, and you had all the fat Americans going like, standing there with their donut, and but they understood it was less about the physical piece and more about, okay, we're here to work. Let's get our mind right. Let's get focused. Yes, we're doing some stretching and breathing and some exercise, but we're just getting everything focused for the tasks in front of us and the work in front of us for the rest of the day, right? So it's getting everything lined up and getting everybody in the right mindset. It's the same reason why home gyms don't work, right? When you have a home gym, there's always excuses not to do it. The phone rings, the kids yell, the dog barks. We take more time between sets than we should because the TV's on.
Got to change the load of laundry.
But when you go to the gym, when you go somewhere to do it, your mindset changes. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for a reason. I have a plan and I can execute it. It's the same reason when you go to work rather than work from home. A lot of people struggle working from home. I'm more productive. Well, are you really? Because when you go to work, right, the process of putting on work clothes, whether it's a suit or my overalls, whatever it happens to be, and I'm going somewhere to do something, your mindset changes automatically. So part of the stretch and flex is, okay, we're here at work. Now we're going to do something as a team to get our team mindset on. We're going to put our team hat on. I'm stretching. I'm getting focused. I'm getting dialed in for the tasks at hand today, right? So there's benefit physically, but also mentally getting dialed in for those types of programs. And to me, that's all part of the wellness program, right? It's all part, because if I'm now focused on work and I'm not thinking about something else, I'm less apt to get hurt. I'm less apt to make mistakes.
Be distracted, do those
my
things.
attention to detail is heightened. And it shouldn't be just in the beginning. You should probably do it at midday and towards the end of the day as well.
So it impacts quality,
100%.
productivity, safety, all of those things, right?
Everything, right?
I'm almost afraid to go down this road a little bit, but can you just touch on nutrition just a little bit? I mean, without, like, I'm not asking you to develop a program for anyone.
No, but I think
what things can people be doing nutritionally just to?
A lot of times wellness programs, right, the companies just think weight loss, smoking cessation, addictions, but we don't really look at nutrition in a manner of, first of all, the debate of what is good nutrition is rabid and wild and goes on for eons, because we don't have the controlled trials and the controlled studies that we really need because of the moral issue of, let's test this diet on Doug and we might be killing Doug. So we'll do it on rats all day long, but there's not the direct translation, right? So there's always going to be that debate because we just can't do the trials that we really need on humans, the big human trials. We can sort of do them, but not really like we should in a lab, like needs to be happening. But so companies, we'll do nutrition programs. We'll sometimes offer nutritionists, but to tell people how to eat, now you're infringing on those rights and First Amendment rights and stuff like that, which I understand. But the fact of the matter is, we know the data is so strong, and more continues to come out and emerge that metabolic health and mental health are so intimately connected, and that our diet affects our mental health so drastically. I've seen studies where they are attributing diet to dementia and Alzheimer's, and treating
depression,
anxiety, everything, but treating dementia and Alzheimer's with diet interventions with success.
Absolutely.
So the mindset of an employee, right? The mental state of an employee is drastically affected by their diet, and not to say that everybody that's overweight can't think straight. That's not what I'm saying at all. Even the skinniest person can be in poor metabolic health.
Absolutely.
Which, if they're in poor metabolic health, there's probably mental health issues along with it. Whether they're stressed out, they can't handle. Going back to resilience, they just can't handle the stress in their life, which often leads to depression, anxiety, and various other things, which is going to affect their job performance. So it goes hand in hand. This is why I think wellness and health and wellness and safety need to be intertwined. And because companies should be talking about people about their diet, because if we know the diet affects physical health as well as mental health, well, what type of total health state is that person on the job site now? Right? And if they have a terrible diet and there's a little bit of stress in their life, and that gets amplified because, we know sugar affects the same centers of the brain as drugs, like cocaine and meth and things like that. So if, someone's diabetic, there's probably also mental health issues there as well. And now what's their state of mind on the job site? Like, is that person a accident waiting to happen?
Absolutely. That's interesting.
And so that's why I think this all comes full circle. It's like the healthier of a workforce population I have, right, the more resilient they're going to be mentally and physically to accidents happen.
I would agree. This is really interesting stuff. This one has always been a problem for me. Safety training. We do our safety training in the morning, and we bring in a box of donuts. And we pump our students full of, like, donuts, fried sugar. And then we talk about safety. And I just have this real struggle with that. I don't want to bring in celery and carrots necessarily for fear of being lynched on site. But I also struggle with this bringing in the donuts thing. I mean, I don't, because again, we are siloing safety from wellness, from mental health, from nutrition and all that.
We do.
I think that's inappropriate.
It's part of the problems with modern medicine today is everything gets siloed out, and it doesn't, because we get into this mode of being I'm the expert. Your doctor says one thing, your therapist says another, this doctor says another, and they all want to be the one that's right, and they don't want to admit that, hey, maybe this person has a better answer, or they need to work together. Well, my doctor said, or my trainer said, or my nutritionist said, and I'm like, well, none of them are talking to each other, so how can you believe any of them?
No kidding.
They all want to be right, and it's unfortunate, but it's starting to come around. Like, we're starting to see a shift in how we treat people, but it's still very siloed out and very medication oriented. But I think as a company, you have to look at your employees holistically and look at the total package. Especially if somebody's not performing well on a job site, why aren't they performing well? And we know, like, one of the things I do with clients of mine is if they tell me that they're struggling with stress, or they're feeling anxious, or they're feeling overwhelmed, I'll be like, hey, don't eat for a day. Fast for a day, and then tell me how you feel. Give your body a break for a day. Flush it out, drink nothing but water, black coffee, or tea, and then tell me how you feel. And more often than not, they'll come back the next day is like, I feel a lot better. Like their mental clarity starts to come through. They're less stressed. They're less anxious. The depression subsides a little bit. There's a great correlation. I've seen lots of studies where fasting and depression go hand in hand. Like, you add a little bit of fasting, it helps with depression. And that's because our gut health improves. And if our gut health improves, our hormones improve, which directly affects our brain, and everything is so connected.
You get a little more balance.
So, something simple as just fasting for a day, what it does to your mental clarity. Whatever diet you're on, one of the things that, like, ketogenic and carnivore diets, one of the biggest proclamations people have is they say, man, I just feel like this brain fog lifted.
Yeah. Definitely. Or intermittent fasting, things like that.
It's like, about this brain fog. I can think clear. I didn't realize I was just walking around in this fog the whole time. Well, truth or not, but it seems you hear that over and over and over. Like, a lot of people are saying this brain fog, and we know foods affect the brain, but. So that means you've been walking around this whole time in this fog, not thinking clearly, or struggling in your thinking, or maybe slow to react or slow to make decisions. Well, that sounds like an accident waiting to happen to me.
No doubt.
On the job site. How many people on your job site are walking around like that?
That's
okay,
interesting.
And now if you clean up diet and do a little fitness in there, how much more of a clear thinker do you have on the job site? Reacting faster to potential hazards,
right? Not
tripping, not slipping, not.
I wonder if that should be part of our, our incident investigations should include some kind of a blood panel. We rush out and we test people immediately for drugs. Maybe we should be looking at, like, insulin resistance and things like that when we do these incident investigations and things. And I say that somewhat jokingly, but not really.
Well, but how many? It's just like with COVID. It's like how many comorbidities existed along with the accident, how many comorbidities existed along with the COVID. It's like, let's not just look at this in a vacuum.
Right.
Like, and just say, hey, this thing did it. It's like, no, there's a lot of other contributing factors to all this. It's like, hey, Doug slipped and fell and broke a leg. We got to put tack strips down. It's like, okay, well, let's understand what's going on, right? Doug is 150 pounds overweight.
Right.
He trips over his own 2 feet half the time.
His balance has been compromised.
His legs are weak. He's not paying attention half the time to what he's doing. It's like there's a lot more going on than just we need to put tack strips down so Doug doesn't trip anymore.
Right.
To prevent somebody else from falling. It's like that person was an accident waiting to happen. I'm not blaming that person. Like,
sure. Man.
Guys don't think we're pointing fingers and blaming people. We're just saying is, like Doug said earlier, there's a lot of things that we like to try to prevent. Prevention is, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? well, prevention needs to go more than just putting up guardrails and tax strips. It's like, are we preventing people from being unhealthy and unaware and unattentive, causing some of these accidents?
Mm-hmm. Would you be willing to talk to companies about this stuff? I mean, it's January 2024. Talk a little bit about you and Katrina. Katrina Bishop has also been on the show a number of times. Right. More of a mental health focus. You were more of a metabolic health focus, and the two of you were combining to provide some counsel and guidance on these things. I love this concept.
If you remember the old Wonder Twins, our powers combined,
right?
We kind of did a Wonder Twins thing. We started a company called Hurrdat Health, acknowledging that you can't treat mental health in a silo. You can't treat metabolic health in a silo. They go hand in hand. And a lot of it came from our conversations. Me being a jackass and going like, these freaking people are just undisciplined. They can't stick to the diet. Just stick to the diet. Don't give me this bullshit that it's unsustainable. Just stick to the diet.
Right.
And she'd be like, she would smack me. She's like, Aaron, there might be other stuff going on, right? If they're having anxiety issues or they're having some OCD issues, that's preventing them from sticking to this diet. They know what they need to do. They just can't do it. And
it may not just simply be a willpower issue.
Right. And then she would be saying how, these people are struggling with addiction. They're struggling with this. And I was like, well, it's because their diet sucks. And, they're eating like crap, which screws up their gut health, which now they're not giving their brain a chance to do the things. And one day we're just like, why don't we just this needs to be a hit from both sides.
Yes.
Right. And a lot of people have therapists that they go to, and then they have their MDs that they go to, but they never talk.
No.
Right? So put them on drugs, try to, do self-help, hypnosis, self-healing, but they never talk. And a lot of times they're contradicting each other. So, our approach is, we'll treat the metabolic and mental health together because they know they can't do it without each other. And one might be counteracting the other. So if you clean up somebody's diet, right, and you get them on sound nutrition principles and hopefully maybe a fitness program, because we know fitness goes a long way with helping with depression, anxiety, and things like that, and stress, because the endorphins and the change in your hormones as you work out greatly benefits the brain. We've all done it. I feel so much better after I work out. Right? Well, yeah, duh, right? Yeah. You're actually helping your brain.
Right.
And then at the same time, Katrina's doing her neurolinguistic therapy and her hypnotherapy, giving people tools to handle when they feel depressed, feel anxiety, and give them. She does great things with cues and how to recognize your triggers and recognize your cues, and then little exercises that get around them. And it's like, so now we're hitting it from both sides. And what I do helps her, what she does helps me. But at the end of the day, we're getting this person to a deeper state of health and really putting them in control of their health. And what happens is a lot of times is that the human body is an amazing machine. I mean, if you really think about it, its ability to self-heal and auto-regulate is nothing short of amazing. Like it is, humans have yet to create a machine that can do what the human body does. AI is getting freaking close, which is scary. But I mean, we're just now getting to the point in biomechanics, being able to create a machine that can move like we can move. And even then, they can't move with the fluidity that a human moves, right? There's still some rigidity to it, just because how our ball and socket joints and the fine motor skills that we have to be able to, if you look at what my arm's doing and my shoulder and my wrist and my fingers all at the same time, that's how you can tell a robot from a human, just the fluidity of the movement and how it can move. The human body is amazing, and it will heal itself. Right? The human body fights cancers all the time. It fights off cancers all the time. It fights off pathogens all the time, constantly, 24/7. And you hear people about, I meditated my cancer away. It sounds hokey, but it's like, no, it makes sense. Like the human body is fighting off this stuff imagery all the time. Yeah. But what happens is we set it up for failure. We eat bad. We don't exercise.
Sleep well.
We don't sleep well, which all has impact on our mental health. So now we have a weakened state of mental health, which now makes the physical health worse. And it's this circular issue, and our total health, our deep health, keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And our body can't fight off this stuff anymore. It can't fight off the pathogens. It can't fight off the illnesses. It can't fight off the diseases and the viruses. It can't fight off the cancers. anymore. And that's when all the issues start to crop up.
Right. Right. We were talking about that this morning, that there's a very famous celebrity who has adopted a more stringent diet in order to try to address autoimmune issues.
Jordan Peterson and his daughter.
Yeah, and through that modification, they have seen some remarkable results as far as
Almost
reduction of these
type of results,
inflammation type things and autoimmune things. It's really interesting. But so you and Katrina, so you will be treating or working with, I should say, individuals. Will you also be able to provide those kind of that service to companies or something?
Yeah, we've talked
what's
about
the goal
that. In fact, we Katrina, in our stead, because you and I couldn't show up, went and talked to a company doing her thing from the mental health standpoint, but also hit a little bit about, hey, by the way, nutrition plays a big role in all this. Yeah, we have plans to work with companies. It's harder. Clearly, it's much easier with an individual because we can dial in on your specific needs.
Very specific needs, yeah.
And come up with a program, and we can't use the word treatment because
it's not
we're
really
not licensed treatment, but coaching. Coaching's a better word. We can come up with a coaching approach, to best fit your needs and get you on a path to health. And really what we're doing is we're enabling you to heal yourself at the end of the day, right? It's all self-healing and but putting you on the path to eat right, to regulate your thoughts and your emotions, and then just reduce stress, reduce anxiety, reduce depression, get healthier from the inside as well, and then just set your body up for success to heal itself.
And this sounds like a wellness program to me, as much as just putting a gym in your building.
Sure, and it's tough. I get it. With larger companies, it's harder to do, but I think you can, as a company, you can make nutrition a focal point. You can make health and wellness a focal point. You can make mental health a focal point to understand that we're all better when these things are in line. You're a better employee. I'm a better leader. We're a better company. We're a more productive company. We're sharper at our job when we have these things dialed in. And that could be a mantra of the company for sure.
Absolutely.
The problem is, it's just, I get it. The company needs to make money to survive, and it's not a revenue center, and I get it. I get it. It's hard, but it's not insurmountable.
But these are things everybody can do better at this year. I mean, you can set even small goals, moving in the right direction. I think
companies do these all the time. Companies do weight loss challenges all the time. But it's always like, hey, if you want to do it, great. We'll give you a gift card. Winner gets a gift card, and it's kind of like,
Applebee's.
Some. There's really not what I would say a concerted effort to do it. And it needs to be coming from the top down, but companies could always do more. We could always do more in safety. We could always do more in health and wellness. I just think that, we need to start looking at the two together rather than apart, and realize there is a correlation there. The healthier mentally and metabolically and healthier our workforce is, they're going to be less apt to have accidents and safety incidents.
Yeah. I think you're onto something here, man. And I think this is the natural extrapolation of all this other stuff that we've been doing with regard to safety. This is the direction for those companies that really want to continue this effort. This is the direction they need to be moving, incorporate some of these other wellness and mental health and physical, like you said, metabolic health issues into that overall package.
I would bet, when you do the after action report or the incident report on an accident, on a major accident, why did this person fall, or why did this person not see someone else and hit them with the truck? It's always, they were distracted. Well, why were they distracted? There's stress in their life, anxiety, they're depressed. There's all these other things that really root cause of the issue. It wasn't that they didn't know how to do their job or a lightning bolt fell from the sky and caused a problem. It's usually a distraction, wasn't paying attention to detail. Once in a while, something breaks catastrophically. But
there is that little category that we have always referred to as act of God, which is probably the stuff you're referring to.
Well, it's rare. It's rare that you check that box, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, it was well within our control. But it's like, okay, well, why was that person distracted? And And then you dig a little deeper, and they're suffering from major anxiety or major depression,
Right.
or whatever it happens to
Right.
be. And it's like, well, geez, all right. Well, how do we fix that? Like, there's no amount of safety equipment that's going to fix that.
No,
There's
totally.
no PPE that's going to fix that. You know, so how do we fix
Agreed.
that? How do we fix the person who, man, Doug was a rock star 6 months ago, and his performance went to shit the last 6 months. What's going on there? You know, that's health and wellness.
Right.
At its prime. Performance is going down. And, you know, like you said, in the corporate cubicle environment, no one's really going to get hurt, right? Your just performance went down. You start to shy away from interacting with people. You're less social. Like, all the cues are there that something's going on. But you take that same person and put them on a construction site, well, that might be a pallet of drywall falling on somebody's head. That might be them walking off the edge. That might be a forklift operator swinging around and hitting somebody.
That can be really consequential.
Yeah, 100%.
That's interesting. So we're up to our time. I've really enjoyed the direction this has gone. This is really interesting stuff.
You know, what I would say is just, you know, like, take a look at your safety program. Is it, first of all, get it out of the corner, make it less about the window dressing and the posters up, and really make it about working safely. And then if you do have a wellness program, get them in the same room and start talking with each other and be like, hey, how can we work together if they're not already? Like, what are you doing? What are we doing? How can we incorporate these two things? How can a more metabolically and mentally fit and healthy company employee be safer?
I love that.
How can we work these things together?
Yeah, man. I'm going to get you some gigs. I truly think this is a really beneficial conversation. And I've always enjoyed the conversations that you and Katrina have, and this interesting symbiosis between the two. You know, they're not mutually exclusive. They are actually, they are symbiotic, or whatever the word I'm looking for is, you know. But I think it's something that has been overlooked.
Sure. And I could probably, and this is by no means sounding arrogant, but if you lined up a company in front of me and I could look around and go, who's going to get hurt or be out sick, I could probably pick out.
That's interesting.
With a fairly high degree of accuracy, who's probably going to be out sick and who's probably going to hurt on the job site.
Right. We should do that just as a case study sometime, just to see if it's possible.
And if you give me, like, if you let me sit down and talk with everybody about their health and wellness, like their nutrition, their exercise regimen, I could even get more accurate as who's probably who's more apt to get hurt on the job site and who's more apt to be out with illness.
I'll bet you could attribute epigenetic markers to these things at some point. You know,
if you want to get down, and
I'll bet you could. That's always something that on the fringe, I thought would be interesting. There are certainly genetic contributions to risk tolerance or
there's genetic markers,
risk aversion, but these epigenetic things that evolve through generations would be interesting to track. It's probably beyond the scope of most safety programs, but it sounds kind of interesting. One last question. Do you see a big influx in membership at the gym at the first of the year? Is a martial arts gym typical to like the other, the box workout?
I can only speak to myself. I don't, because I don't run those New Year's ads. One, because there's so much noise out there, but I don't do the
lose 10 pounds in 10 days
or your membership's $1 for the first 6 months, and then or we're waiving the registration fee. I don't do any of that stuff. I try to stay more consistent throughout the year. I'm more interested in consistent.
Well, you're kind of doing a disservice to your long-term members by doing that shit.
Yeah, and you do, Jade. I mean, I'm paying this, and now you're letting them in for. So I try not to do that. And martial arts, I think, is niche enough where people, when you think of the New Year's resolutions, you think of the big box gyms where. Their business model is we're going to get as many people in because we know only about 20% are going to use the place. And, they got 5,000-6,000 members. I always joke with people, walk into like a box gym into the locker room and you'll see like 6 showers where they have 6,000 members.
Right.
Like this goes to show you how many people really are using the place, right?
Exactly.
But their model is, hey, I'll get you in at $20 and you're going to pay the $20 even if you don't use it because you might use it. And it's only $20.
And it sounds good to be
Whereas
a
my
member.
price point's a little bit higher, and
But members come. Other
members
than myself.
come. They're probably more regular than the average box gym, but it also takes a lot more effort to do what we do. So I don't, I try to stay more consistent. I'm more interested in consistent, longer term
relationships.
And so we don't see. I mean, I'm not saying there's not an uptick. Where we do see upticks and downticks is beginning and end of school year.
Okay,
that's when I really see it.
Kids are out of school.
People get busy.
Yeah,
their regular schedule gets blown up. Right. So when school starts, everybody gets regular again. They get into the routine. And then I'll see classes pick up. When school gets out, I see a drop because people are dealing with kids all day long and their schedules are up in the air and there's no regularity in their day whatsoever. They're doing vacations and stuff, whatnot. And then so that's when I really notice changes in attendance. Is what I gauge it by.
Okay.
But no, I don't. Because we know New Year's resolutions are short-lived anyway.
Rarely does anyone resolve to go get punched in the face on a regular basis.
That's fair. Although the sports are getting more popular. We're getting more mainstream.
Question. Yeah.
More people are doing it. The average person, the layperson, the average person's doing it more and more all the time. It's becoming more. When I first opened the gym, people knew 3 words. They knew martial arts, karate, and taekwondo. Like those are the 3 words they knew. Right now, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and UFC and MMA is becoming more commonplace, and so you see people more.
But your gym is as much about wellness, fitness, confidence, as it is specifically about those individual martial arts and stuff. It's really a place where...
Right. Our whole motto is the martial arts is just the medium for people to become better versions of themselves. Everybody walks in that door for a different reason.
Right.
So, I used to be a big fight gym where it was all competitors, and I got away from that. So now those type of people don't walk in the door as much because our reputation is... Hey, this is where there's doctors, lawyers, there's professionals in this place, and they're just doing the martial arts because that's their thing, and they're there for various reasons. Some people come in for self-defense. Some people come in for confidence. Some people come in because they're tired of the treadmill. Some people just need a change of pace. There's enthusiasts in there that are just there's hobbyists in there. There's for a variety of reasons. But there's other places in town where hardcore competitors, and this is where all the head crackers go. Hey, cool, that's your thing. That's your niche as well. So it's, I don't really run any of the New Year ads. We do like Bring a Friend month. Hey, Bring a Friend week, Bring a Friend, and expose them to martial arts. That's about the most promoting I do.
Are you going to do some more self-defense classes on the weekends and things?
I need to. I got so busy these last few months, finishing up school and doing some job changes on my end that, we used to do one a month, and those were always fun and just a great way. I've had some private groups coming in doing types of self-defense stuff and doing their own little group things, team building and just camaraderie type stuff.
I think with the Midwest Safety Cooperative, our this group that we have here in the area of safety people, we should come in for a self-defense Saturday or something. That'd be really fun for these.
I like doing self-defense clinics and seminars, but I don't like it at the same time because I can't teach you to defend yourself in an hour.
Right.
I just can't do it. And anybody that says that they are, to me, it's a lie and false advertising when, these organizations hold self-defense clinics, and you're going to be more physically capable of defending yourself after this clinic. I'm like, no, you're not.
Right.
It's like taking somebody who's never played basketball before, and after this clinic, you're going to be able to play basketball. No, I exposed you to basketball, and you understand dribbling and shooting now, but you can't go play basketball with any reasonable level of skill or proficiency. Right? It takes. Because the thing about self-defense is I don't know what's going to happen to you.
Sure. Nor do you.
The realm of possibility is limitless. What could happen to you out there? We could spend an entire month on knife defense, and someone pulls a gun on you the next day. Well,
hits you with a bat.
And all that hits you with the bat, or 5 people show up.
Right.
Well, we didn't cover that.
Aaron, how come we didn't cover this?
I try to temper expectations.
Yeah. But that's probably as valuable as anything.
Sure, it's more of an awareness. We teach more awareness. Hey, don't jog at night by yourself on an unmarked trail. Don't get blackout drunk and walk down an alley.
Right.
Don't ride with people you don't know.
Right.
Don't walk around with a wad of hundreds over your head in the wrong part of town. Right? There's certain things we can do. Like, I get it. We should be able to do whatever we want without fear, but just the reality is, like, know where you parked your car. How many people you see walk around looking where their car is? It's like, well, there's a Target waiting to happen.
It's right next to that van.
You know, the guy with the candy.
Shouldn't park next to those vans.
You know, so it becomes more of awareness, and let's have some common sense, and let's understand just the reality of it. There's bad people out there. I try to tell people, and this really throws people for, like, look, if somebody wants to kill you, they will. It's not hard. It is not that hard.
Right.
Right. If they want to kill you, they will. So let's get that out there. So, but what can we do to prevent putting ourselves in those situations?
Yeah, to not be the victim that they select for that.
Well, yeah, and it's like you hate to say like we can all agree rape is terrible, and no man should ever do that to a woman or vice versa. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but let's look at this scenario. Like, should you have drank that much and been at a party with people you didn't know by yourself? Could you have not put yourself in that situation? I'm not saying...
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's your fault.
But making yourself vulnerable.
Right. Like, let's not make ourselves vulnerable. And like,
those circumstances
it
you
would
just
be
described.
great if we could all sleep at night with our doors unlocked. But we don't.
Yeah.
Because there's bad people out there.
There are some bad people, right.
So there's this utopian view of the world. I should go wherever I want and not have to worry. Yes, I agree, but that's just not reality.
And it assumes people are good and do the right thing, and they don't.
Not everybody. Most will, but not everybody won't. Like, we could probably sleep at night with our doors unlocked. We probably could.
But I'd have my gun under my pillow.
Right, but there's that one night that we wish we had when somebody came in. Right. And then so we do it all the time. So that's kind of the approach I take with self-defense. Like, let's understand what could happen. Like, I try to, every time I do it, I go, let's not do the what if questions, because we could go down a rabbit hole and we'd be there forever, right? So it's kind of like, let's do some common sense things that can keep ourselves safe and lessen the likelihood of something happening. Let's lock our doors at night. I tell women, she's like, I'm afraid. I go, get a dog. Get a big freaking dog. Well, I don't like dogs. Okay, well,
get a really big cat.
You know what I mean? It's like, hey, so one of the best self-defense measures is having a big ass dog.
Is a barking dog, man.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Not doesn't even have to be a big dog. A barking dog, right? That's like the person. Okay, I'm going to go to the next house because this is going to be a pain in the ass, right? So. It's things like that I'll talk about with self-defense. It's like, let's do some common sense things just to not set ourselves up for failure. Anyway.
Yeah, I love it. Man, I really loved the conversation. And again, as usual, we have no idea what we're going to be talking about. You get some bacon and eggs in us, and then we just start talking, pump some caffeine in.
Yep.
But I love the direction of that conversation. I love the concept of wellness as part of comprehensive safety and health program. This is all interrelated.
And you just said it great there, safety and health. Why is it a safety program and a health and wellness program? Why is it not a safety and health program?
Yeah, safety, health, wellness. It's all one thing, man. So give that some thought. Maybe incorporate that into your planning for 2024. If you're setting goals, if you're looking ways to, further improve your programs, consider this maybe. Yep. Aaron is always available for coaching, conversation, discussion. So,
and what I would say to everybody out there, if you're struggling with anxiety, you're struggling with stress, you're struggling with depression, and whatever mental struggle just struggle making decisions, look at your diet really hard and look at your metabolic health. And I promise you, if you're struggling with one, you're probably struggling with the other, more than likely. Not always, but more than likely. And doing some simple things like getting the processed foods out of your diet, getting the fast food, getting the junk out of your diet, you would be surprised what that does to your mental clarity.
Absolutely.
And your ability to deal with anxiety and depression and things like that. Is it a cure-all, be-all, end-all? No, absolutely not. There's a process to all this. But something simple is getting healthier in your diet, getting healthier, your gut health does amazing things for your mental health. So kind of don't.
It's something that we have some control over.
Yeah.
And it is a starting point. So I think it's absolutely worth doing.
100%.
Love it. All right, brother. Cool, Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. 2024 is off and running, guys. So I hope you have a great year, great week. We will continue to do this every Friday and hopefully bring you some interesting content. Have a good weekend, and we will talk to you next Friday. Bye-bye.